Welcome to the Journey of Becoming. I'm your host, Karrie Mitten. Before we get started, a quick question. Are you ready to break through to your next level? Uplevel Your Life Consulting is where executive success meets soul-aligned strategy. If you're a high-performing professional or an entrepreneur who has accomplished a lot, but deep down knows there's more clarity, more impact, more freedom, more you, then this is your moment. Our executive coaching is for leaders who are ready to stop waiting for the perfect time and start trusting the ideas they already have, wanting to carve out space for their next chapter without sacrificing the life they've built, longing to bring their creativity and vision forward with clarity and confidence, looking for a transformational guide who's navigated reinvention and knows how to help others do the same. With personalized coaching, mindset mastery, and strategic vision building, we don't just scratch the surface, we go deep to unlock your full potential. This isn't about doing more, it's about becoming more of who you truly are. Let's talk about what's possible for you. Book a free clarity call today and let's create a bold vision for the next level of your becoming. Visit www.uplevelyourlifeconsulting.com to schedule your call today. Because you didn't come this far to only come this far. And now, on with the show. So today we have with us Danielle Turner, chef, author, and CEO of Forklift Media, where she creates high-quality culinary content for brands, media, and home cooks alike. With over 20 years of experience as a personal chef, cooking instructor, food stylist, and writer, Danielle has taught more than 8,000 students, contributed to publications like the Michelin Guide, Food Network Magazine, and TastingTable.com, and styled food for PBS's award-winning Patty's Mexican Table. She's also the founder of Salt Sanity, a low-sodium lifestyle platform inspired by her husband's heart health journey. Through recipes, tips, and her book, The Food Lover's Guide to Low Sodium Living, she helps people enjoy flavorful meals without the excess salt. Danielle's work is all about storytelling through food, inspiring, educating, and proving that healthy eating can be joyful and deeply satisfying. Danielle, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to chat with you today.
Yes, and I love all the things that you have done. It's an incredible journey of becoming, right? But tell us where it all started.
Um, it all started as a little kid. I am of an age where I was what they used to call a latchkey kid, where I was back in the 70s and 80s. Those are kids who would sometimes have their key on a chain around their neck and they would go home after school by themselves and kind of hang out until parents came home a couple of hours later. So
Yes.
in that time, I would do my homework, I would read, and I would make snacks. And that's where the love of cooking started. I would just kind of putz around with whatever was in the cupboards. And I think the first thing I ever like truly made was like a Rice Krispie treat. And I have been chasing that high ever since. Just the
That's a good
thrill
one
of
to
being,
chase.
yes, the thrill of being able to put things together and to create something wonderful.
Mm,
Um, so that's where my love of food started. I always felt like I wanted to eat above my age range. I was not interested in like the kid foods. I
mm,
always wanted to try, I guess, what the adults were eating or the fancier things that seemed fancy to me as a kid.
mm, mhm.
Um, so I kind of nursed that as a hobby until like as you said, I'd worked in politics in Washington, D.C. for about 10 years and just got tired of it, just burnt out completely. Did not want to continue to live my life around an election cycle.
Mhm.
And, I was still cooking just for myself and for fun and for friends. And I had worked with a woman who was a very good friend. And she, the year before I did, quit her job and went to culinary school. And I kind of watched her and watching someone that I knew pretty well do that kind of put the planted the bug like, well, wait a minute, I could do that. And so I did. And
Mm,
everyone thought I was nuts. I was giving up a wonderful job with great people doing wonderful things that were important to me.
mhm,
Um, really like moving the needle for people in need. And but I was the person in need, and I
mhm,
needed to be
mhm.
doing something else in order to be truly fulfilled. And I went to culinary school, enrolled full time, and had no idea, no plan for what was going to come next. But I just knew that that was the thing um, that I needed to be doing, and that was the place where I wanted to be right then.
You
And
know,
that's
I
how
love I love that story because it's kind of a mirror of mine. My love for people, my love for just uh, being creative, and it kind of got squashed when I was getting ready to go to school, and my dad told me, "Hey, you probably won't make a lot of money being an artist." And so in my mind, all I thought was, "Gosh, my dream isn't important. I'm not worthy of going after my dream."
uh,
So when you were a little kid and you were creating all these beautiful foods, and it was your love, what stopped you from going through with that as a young person?
it never once occurred to me when I was younger that something in culinary would could be my career. I knew that chefs
Mm,
existed. It just
mhm,
never felt like something that I could do. Now,
mm,
I've learned to cook over the years. I taught myself some, and then I learned most of it in culinary school. But like the skill, like the natural talent that I'm born with is
mm,
writing. And so when you just said
mm,
that, I felt that because I was, writing on paper and stapling them together and making books, as a kid. And
uh-huh.
so I was like, oh, I'm going to be a writer. I'm going to be a writer. And then I went to college and thought, oh, I better pick something a little more traditional.
Mm.
And I majored in broadcast journalism, which there's
Okay.
a writing element to that, but I got
But isn't that interesting though that the mindsets told you, really that there was no room for what it is that you would love, right?
right,
That
right,
traditional, and this is the same, I'm just relating to my story so much because, mainstream life didn't tell me that I could be an artist and
right,
and have, great return from that I couldn't go after my own dream, right? And so
right.
we make these things up in our head that stall us from really going after our dream,
And
right?
I really feel like it was kind of hardwired and growing up, you needed to be able to get a job. And that it was
Yes.
like, what job are you going to be able to get? And I couldn't identify it with that just yet. And writer just seemed like, oh, I don't know, the starving artist thing. And
Hmm.
when I was in college, I worked for a woman, and she was a very accomplished woman, and she owned a PR type firm. And I was helping her move her office. And so she was like, well, Danielle, what are you going to do when you get out of college? And I was like, well, I want to be a writer. And she goes, well, that's fine, but what are you going to do for a real job?
Ah,
And to
yes.
hear that from someone at that time that I respected so much, I just thought, it was complete deflation. Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay,
Yes.
I got to, do the thing I like second best, which at that time was politics. And so I did that. But in the process, there was some time between these two events, but in the process of helping her move her office, I was unloading files, and she had a file folder full of rejection letters from publications that she was trying to write for. And I thought, that
Ah.
probably didn't have anything to do with me. That was
Ah,
probably her own stuff that she's just,
right.
kind of spilling over onto me. So it just really set it in me like, it's okay to listen to people, but really it's more important to listen to yourself. And that was a long lesson that it has taken me. And so now,
Danielle, you hit the nail on the
yeah,
head right there, right? Because after my dad said that, and he said you probably he did it out of love and
yes, of
protection, right? He
course.
said you probably won't make a lot of money doing that, right? And
Mhm.
I was basing my future on his past events in his
Right,
life, right?
right.
And so how often, and I want our listeners to really think about that, how often are we making up ideas based on other people's opinion or approval, right? Like that
Exactly.
it happens so unconsciously, right?
Yes. When that
So
woman, when
yeah.
she said that to me, I
Yeah.
don't think she had a bit of malice in her heart. She was just
Ah,
like, oh, probably thinking, well, I couldn't do it. So there's, it's not a likely thing. But,
yeah.
I just,
So then you went into politics and
I
you
did.
and when you were in the political world, I mean you said that you worked with a great company and had great people, but what was the pivotal moment that you decided that you were actually going to go after this dream that you've had?
Honestly, it was the 2000 election, which you might remember
Okay.
was chaos.
Hmm.
And I just thought, you know what? I just did all of this great work, and it's all in the hands of somebody else. And I didn't like that. So I thought, I want to be in charge as much as anyone can be,
Hmm.
um, of what I'm doing and when I do it and why I do it. And that
Mhm.
was really it. It was just kind of I need to check out of this for a little bit and just see what
Was
happens.
and during all that time, did you still have that longing in your heart to work with food and maybe become go into that?
Yes, as I got older, and obviously was living, on my own and cooking for myself, I definitely got more interested in food. And
Mhm,
then I started thinking, well, maybe I can combine these two. I can write about food. And so to
mhm.
me, the first step was go to culinary school and learn what it is that you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah, and you mentioned before that you wanted to be more in control of your schedule,
Mhm.
and so you know there had to have been some type of mindset transformation or a shift in yourself to decide to go after that, right? And so give us a little bit of
Sure.
insight into what that looked like for you.
It was years, 10 years of getting up, going to an office, doing
Mm,
the things,
mm,
coming home,
mhm.
living for the weekend, living for an evening where I didn't have like a work commitment or I didn't have to be reading something or preparing for the next day. And I just thought, I am spending so much time on other people's stuff. And I always joke, it's like the only child in me is like, no, I should be doing what I want. I'm the center of the universe, of my
Yeah,
universe.
yeah.
Um, but it wasn't, it was my job. And I thought, I refuse to accept the idea, the notion that I had just been sent here to earth or to be in the world just to toil, to labor away doing someone else's work. And
Mm,
that was the moment that was a thing that built over
mm,
time, that feeling of like, this can't be like I'm
mhm.
gonna do this for 40 years and be
Yeah,
happy about it. It just seemed untenable to me
yeah,
and
yeah.
not something that I could do. And so I thought, let me just be a little bit brave and try something different.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and I often share with my clients that it's the longings and discontents in our life that are the echo of the calling on our life, right? The
Absolutely.
longings are things that are seeking to be really or seeking to be expressed, something that we're longing for, and discontents are things that are seeking to be released, right?
Right.
And if you don't answer that call, you will live an unlived life,
You
right?
will.
And it's kind of like I like to think of like a beach ball. If you try to push a beach ball underwater, it doesn't like to stay there, right?
Yeah.
And that's
Really
what
wonderful
happens with our
example.
life. If we don't go after our dream and the calling on our life, we will live an unlived, unfulfilled life. And that's when we have depression. That's when we have anxiety and stress and all of the
Illness.
things
Yes.
that keep us stuck in the cycle of yuck,
No,
right?
that's a really brilliant way to put this cycle of yuck because
Yeah.
that's what it is. And even though I loved what I was doing and I loved, the people that I
Yeah.
worked with and all
Hmm.
the things, it just was not enough. And I
Yeah.
thought I would have to do like some Olympic level settling
Uh-huh.
to kind of
Uh-huh.
just do this, to at least not try.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And so now you are running this business. Tell us everything that's going on in your life right now.
Okay, so sent our only daughter off to college and started a new business because I
Yeah.
was, I had my fill of personal chefing and cooking for other people, but I still wanted to focus on food. During those years, my family went through some huge health crises. My husband had a heart attack
Mm.
in 2012, like not that any of them are good, but a bad one. It's nicknamed a widowmaker because most people do not survive that
Yeah.
because it doesn't present like a traditional heart attack. But we got through that. And then years later in 2018, he was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. And that required a much bigger change. It required a huge change in diet.
Mm.
The key factor being eating a low sodium diet. And
Hmm.
day one of culinary school, you learned that salt is your friend. So it was like a horrible, horrible breakup to be like, oh no,
Yeah.
and I just refused to accept that we were just going to live our lives eating bland, food that was not wonderful. And so I just started using all the skills that I had gathered over the years and researching and trying things and reading and asking questions. And we still eat really well and everything just about that I cook is,
Hmm.
uh, low sodium and heart healthy. And we
Hmm.
still have people over and they still love it and it's still tasty. And so I just decided to share that. So I started the website saltsanity.com to share that information because the overwhelm that I felt when he got that initial diagnosis um, was
Hmm.
overwhelming. I remember being in the
Hmm.
grocery store, like on the verge of tears Like
Mhm.
nothing that we used to eat will work anymore. What are we going to do?
Mhm.
And we are a family of food lovers. So I thought, let me share what I have learned with other people. And that led me to writing the Food Lover's Guide to Low Sodium Living, which is really just the book that I wish that I'd had when I
Mhm.
got that diagnosis. So it's just to help people kind of, it's a hopeful book. Like you have to follow the orders that your doctor gives you, but you can still eat well. You can still eat things that are tasty. You can still eat out. You can still travel. It doesn't have to be, a death sentence for your palate. So
Mhm.
that's what I'm spending most of my time on right now.
Beautiful. I love that you used your mess as your message, right? That
Yes,
your test as your testimony, right? And
absolutely.
I really honor, that journey because, you know, most of the time you got to go through the journey to get to the not I mean not the arrival point, but the point where you can actually use it as your testimony, right? Or
Yes.
use it as your message.
Oh, absolutely.
And
I could not have done that. I couldn't have started that website or that business while that was happening, like
mhm.
while I was in the throes of it. I had to get to a point where I felt like I had a handle on it
Mhm,
and where it didn't feel, so sad and depressing and,
mhm, mhm. And
like,
and I also love the fact that it was, I mean, you can't make this stuff up, right? Like you became a culinary chef. Your husband had congestive heart failure, needed to go
yes.
on a different diet. Here you are, a chef, loving,
Uh-huh.
loving, the foods and all of these things. And now you get to use that to promote healthy eating and
Right.
and keeping him healthy. I mean, I just love that thread, that golden thread that goes through it, right? It's just
Yeah, and
beautiful.
that was an evolution because it took me a while to get there because I just thought, "This is awful." It was like I said, like a bad breakup, like,
Yeah,
like,
yes. I think
I
we
don't
can
know.
all
Yes,
understand
I
that.
can't quit you. It was hard, but it
Yeah.
just, the saying is we can do hard things and we can make really wonderful things out of hard things because now I get the benefit of not only just sharing these things that I've learned and doing this work and trying to help people navigate what can be a really difficult transition. Um, but I get these emails in my inbox from people who are like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I found your website. Was so worried about this. We love food. I
Mm,
have Thanksgiving for my family, and I didn't think anyone would want to come, but you've shown me that." So
mm.
just things like that. When people always say, "Oh, if you just help one person," and it that is real. Like it just
Yeah,
the joy that you feel, and it's like, well, I can't stop. I have to keep
yeah,
going.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, I really believe that we are put in a position for just that, to support other people going through the same thing, right? And no matter what it is, we're all on this journey of becoming, right? And our journey is not just for us alone. It's not to keep it for
Right.
us. It's to support others going through a similar journey. Um, so share with me, you talked about your husband's, heart attack. What's the biggest obstacle that you faced on your journey, and how did you overcome it?
The biggest obstacle I have faced with anything I've done in my entire life has been myself. And
Ah,
learning how to get out of my own way,
uh-huh.
stop doubting myself, I'm a serial learner, I like to call it. So I'm like, well, I can do that, but I need to take a class. I need to do a thing to learn more, about it. And just kind of, yes, I do need that. But also sometimes you just have to just do it. And I think that one of my issues is kind of downplaying the things that I know,
Mm,
the things that I've learned, and thinking, well, everybody knows that. And
mm,
I'm learning that's not the case.
yeah,
So it's okay to share. And even if someone else has already shared, a similar idea or a similar, they don't have my version. They're not
yeah,
going to bring, what I bring to it, just like, I don't bring what they bring to it. So there's just learning that there's room for everyone. And, um, I need to not be afraid and to recognize like I know what I'm talking about.
yeah,
Again,
yeah.
that's come with age, I think, but just um the self-confidence.
Mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm,
don't have to be perfect, but I
mm-hmm.
have something valuable to share. And whenever I can do that, when I can get the fear of failure and also the fear of succeeding out of the way,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I can do
Mm-hmm.
anything.
Again, we're running parallel here.
Yeah.
There are a bazillion coaches in this world, right? And often even myself, I think to myself, gosh, who's going to listen to me, right? And then I realize, no, I have a very special message,
Right.
right? And I am, whatever I'm putting out in the world, I'm going to get back. So I have a really great mentor of mine. She um she would call me up and she would say, "Hey, rock star." And at first I was like, "Who are you talking to?" Like, who's the rock star here? And she said to me, she was very serious. She said, "Receive it. Receive it because you are. And the world needs you. So step up. Do your thing."
And that
Right?
can be hard to do. That was one of my New Year's resolutions a couple of years ago. Learn to take a compliment. If
Yeah.
someone says something great, I don't have to immediately give
Yeah.
them three reasons why it's really, really not so great. Like,
Right.
just say thank you.
Yes. Yes. Because if you don't, you're cutting off the gift of the person giving the compliment,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, I mean, you talked about fear of success, fear of failure. How do you manage those on your journey?
Um, I have just learned you have to just do it and do it scared.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, fear, I see you there. I know you're trying to protect me, but I'm okay. I got this. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
letting go of, most of the things that I'm doing in my life. If it doesn't go well, if it doesn't go right, nothing horrible is going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's okay if I get it wrong. And there's always a lesson in it, in something, even if it does fail. So I just do it anyway and just
Yes.
try to hold myself accountable. I tend to hold things very close if I'm thinking of something or working on something. And now, if it's something that I really want to do, I'll say it out loud to somebody. And then that gives me a bigger sense of accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've told someone, so now I've got to follow through. I've got to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, on our road to becoming, fear will always be a companion.
Hmm.
Right. And it's courage, excuse me, that gets us that by taking action, action dissipates fear. Right. So I love that. I love, I look fear in the face. I befriend my fear. I put it
Yeah.
in the passenger seat. I say, come on, we're going. Let's do this
I
thing.
love that idea, that way of thinking of it. It's a passenger. It's going to be
Yeah.
there and it's okay. You're going to come along for the ride and watch me prove you wrong. I don't have to be
Yes.
afraid. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
And
that.
another thing, another mentor shared with me is we can be brilliant and imperfect at the same time. We can do that, right? We can be brilliant and imperfect. We don't have to do this perfectly, right? We're doing
Yeah,
it
that's
the way.
actually frozen for a
Okay.
bit. Okay.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know where the perfectionism comes from. It's
Hmm.
like I will look at someone else who's doing the exact same thing that I'm doing and
Hmm.
not see any flaws and be like, oh, be so encouraging. This is so great. You're wonderful. Good on you for trying. And then with myself, I've got a monologue of 400 things that I've done wrong. And I have to remind myself, like, would you talk to about someone else this way? Would you be thinking the same thing if it were
Right.
someone else? And so just
Right.
learning to be kind to yourself. And most people, I think, if you ask them, are you kind to yourself? And they would say, well, of course I am. But those little things, that little voice, letting that little voice in your head, the negative one, override your dreams and your spirit and your goals,
Right.
that's not being kind to yourself.
And it's getting back to that unlived life, right? If
Yes,
we live into that and we let that those paradigms or those voices take control, then we will have unlived life. Yeah.
absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
as you reflect on your journey and the success that you've achieved so far, what would it look like to take your impact, your income, your influence to the next level? What's the
Ooh,
next level for you? I
I
mean,
love that. Next level for me would be 100% working for myself.
hmm
Um, and working in a way that I think is not universally what people think of. Like, I
hmm
don't mean that I want to work for myself 9 to 5. I want to work a couple days a week and then
Yep.
spend the rest of my time doing things that I love that aren't necessarily income generators. Um,
hmm
there are things I want to write. I want to write a screenplay. I want to write a novel. And um, I talked to you earlier about now at this point in my life with my daughter in school and being at a place in life where I can have more freedom with my time. But ultimately, that's what I would like to do, and just be working 100% on my own projects, whatever they may
Yeah.
be. I
Yeah.
want to be the crazy old lady who's trying everything. Like, where people are like, "What's she doing now?"
Yeah. Well, I absolutely see that for you, Danielle. And I would invite you to think about, flipping the script a little bit and saying I would love rather than I want, because wanting is
Yeah.
something that will never happen. It's a
Yeah.
want, I want this, right? But what would I love becomes more of a spiritual like journey, right? And
And if
and
I'm saying that I love this, then I know that the universe is going to send it to me.
that's right. That's exactly right. Yeah, absolutely. So
Writing that down.
beautiful. I love it. Okay, so everything you've gone through to where you are today, what's one piece of advice that you'd love to give someone who's on their journey of becoming?
Hmm. Oh, I know this is a really good one. It's a practical one and it's an easy one. Do not be afraid to ask people for help.
Yes.
In my career, in all stages, whatever I was doing, I have gotten such great responses and learned so much and even made friends just by reaching out to people that I don't know and
Yeah.
saying, "Hi, sorry to bother you, but I would really love to do whatever it is that you're doing. Can you talk to me about that? Can you?" And nine times out of 10, even more than that, nine and a half times out of 10, people are so agreeable to that and they
Mhm.
want to share. And I'm not saying ask someone to write your business plan for you, but,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
I don't like to say pick your brain, but just can we have a conversation? May I ask you some questions? And I
Yeah.
think that a lot of people feel like I feel about, when I said the low sodium guide, it's the book I wish I'd had. They share the things they wish they'd known that can
Mhm.
save you time and trouble
Mhm.
and make it your path so much easier. So I just encourage people to reach out, send the email. Worst case scenario is they say no and you've lost nothing,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
if they say yes, that could be the beginning of so many things. So I would just encourage people get over that fear of bothering people or feeling like you're bothering people
Mhm.
or um asking people because
Yeah.
that some of you know the things that I've learned when for instance I was writing for the original iteration of Food Network magazine when it was just an insert in the Scripps newspapers, and my
Mhm.
editor called one day and was like, "Danielle, I got somebody from Food Network called and they need a food stylist in Washington, D.C. And this is what you need to do." And I was like, wait, 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 wait. But I'm not a food stylist. I'm not sure what that is. And she was like, yes, you are. You can do this.
Yeah.
And so then I listened to her and then I was. But,
Mhm. Mhm.
you know, I hadn't done that before. I
Mhm.
found someone online who had, and I sent an email and we're friends to this day because I was like, hi, I've got this
Mhm.
job. I'm not sure if I'm doing it right. Can I just bounce this off you?
Mhm.
Don't be afraid to ask for help. It can be your bridge to the next thing. And then also be open that when people ask you for help, you give that back because it'll come back to you tenfold, I promise.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great advice. Absolutely. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing your incredible journey with us, Danielle. It's been a
You're
pleasure
so
hearing about
welcome.
all the breakthroughs, all the lessons, all the learning along the way. I'm sure our listeners are going to feel inspired to take bold actions in their own lives.
And thank you
Before,
for sharing. I wrote notes. This is the first podcast interview I've done where I took notes
oh,
because you shared
beautiful.
so many gems and I appreciate that.
It's absolutely my pleasure. So before we wrap up, where can our listeners connect with you, learn more about your work?
You can find me easiest at saltsanity.com. I am also on Instagram at saltsanity.com and at Chef Danielle Turner.
Beautiful. Awesome. Wonderful. Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you again for being here today. I know your story will leave our listeners feeling inspired and empowered and ready to take action. So, for everyone tuning in, remember your journey of becoming starts with one brave step. Take it today. So, until next time, keep embracing your transformation.